So David has been in jail for quite some time now. He's facing some pretty serious hearings in the next few days. And in this video, I want to do a little breakdown on some of the horrific jailhouse conditions that he's currently facing and why he is basically set for a lifetime of suffering. So this post has been going around Reddit the past few days. David's conditions. It said that he's being held in a segregated single cell. It says that he is being escorted from his cell to his shower, which he's only allowed every other day. And it says he's only allowed to make phone calls on the days that he can shower. He only gets 3 hours of rec time with fresh air per week. He has no contact with other inmates during recreation. He has no access to a TV. He can't have any visitors at this time, and reportedly has no money on his books right now either. Okay, and I've got a whole bunch of backstory about what actually he will be dealing with whilst he is in jail, how this jail works. I'm going to break it all down to you in this video, but before we do that, let's see how people are responding to David's squalid conditions in that jail. It says, bro's been doing a lot of thinking. Some people are saying those are normal lockdown conditions. I've been in AdSeg before, and everything listed is standard protocol. It couldn't happen to a more deserving person than David Dickhead. I don't agree with the no money on his books, though, because he's got weirdos that send him money, and I'm sure whoever's handling his finances is sending him money as well. If he's only in segregation for protection and not a disciplinary reason, he's able to have full access to the commissary unless he's on a restricted diet, food allergies, or religious reasons. And even then, he would be allowed to access and buy hygiene and some limited food items and clothing. I wish he had no access to the commissary, but I don't make the rules. He should suffer. That is a pretty savage breakdown, if I do say so myself. So people are pretty delighted, and they're saying, from what I've heard, S-offenders are loathed by the general prison population. A lot of them are assaulted because the prisoners cannot stand the thought of predators. It's actually pretty refreshing, you know, where the justice system fails, the prisoners pick it up with great pride. Most of these guys have kids of their own too. Predators are the worst in the system. Only one shower every 2 days would end me. They're saying he looks greasy in every pic. I doubt he was showering before they even got him. Isn't there some correlation with psychopaths and not showering? I feel like I've read that somewhere. There's definitely some kind of diagnosis. People are saying, oh no, anyway, he looks like he's aged 30 years in his mugshot. His mask is off. You can now see his true demonic face. So look, here's the process of arrival when he touched down at this jail, which some have described as the hardest jail in Los Angeles. This is what he's facing when he touched down. Look at this. And it couldn't have happened to a better person. So LA attorney Tiffany Blacknell would actually explain why David was wearing an orange jumpsuit rather than the blue one you saw there, because when I went to Aunt Hefe's trial, not allowed to talk about Aunt Hefe, he was wearing a blue jumpsuit, and I did mention in my video that was different to David's. So apparently here's the 411 on why David wears orange and shackles in county jail and what it's like where he is from a practicing LA County lawyer.
So some of you might be wondering why David is in orange rather than the traditional county blue. My name is Tiffany Blacknell. I've been a lawyer for 23 years in LA County in criminal law, and I have gone to the jail that David's in a million times, including just Thursday. Okay, so if you're a general population in county jail, you wear blue, like a darker blue. If you are gay, they sometimes put you in light blue. If you are a porter or someone who they give him responsibility outside the cell, like cleaning up or serving food, you get to wear light green. If you are mentally ill and on medication, you get to wear yellow top, blue bottoms. If you are another medical situation, not mental, but like physical, cancer, whatever, you wear brown, okay? If you are high power or notorious, you are a special handle, you are wearing orange. Orange top, orange bottoms. You're also wearing waist chains and leg irons, okay? Think Suge Knight. Whenever he would come into court, you would oftentimes see him in the orange. Now, ironically, in David's case, they're putting him in a single man cell to protect him. He's notorious, right? That's why he's in orange. However, his neighbors are the most dangerous, right? Oddly enough. Like, although he's in a cell by himself, I heard it said by someone who was incarcerated that everyone on his row, he's in orange, everyone on his row has been accused of murdering someone within the facility. Okay? We're talking about high power Mexican mafia. We're talking about people who have committed crimes in the jails or in prisons. People who have some shot calling power are the fellas in orange. So when you hear those change, ching, 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 you know you got a real one coming in court, okay? Unless they're famous, which he is. Because a lot of the PDF file people who are accused are sent to Castaic, which is still LA County, but a different jail campus. And they put a lot of the folks who are charged with those charges in the same unit or a dorm where y'all all in the same boat, so ain't nobody tripping. But in David's case, he's both famous and that. So I guess for security reasons, they decided to put him in a single man cell. They also don't let them walk alone. Like sometimes officers or sheriffs will let you hey, follow the line down the hallway and then you walk to the location you're going to. No. When you're in Orange, sheriffs escort you everywhere you go. So you're not by yourself. But David ain't exactly safe, is what I'm saying. Because people don't even know the number of folks who die in the county jail all the time. Now, I know he's infamous and people know him, so they're not going to want to be, looked at crazy if he dies in jail. But man, oh man, oh man, oh man, it rocks and rolls in the county jail. It is not a place I would want my worst enemy to spend any evenings. So, but they've having a rough time in there.
David having a rough time in that jailhouse, man. So they're saying orange is a high power unit, blue's normal. Yeah, we just heard all that. Okay. This is a special color because you're gay is crazy. Yeah, anyway. So it's very interesting, right? Some other celebrities that have been dealing with this situation. It's not just men, but also women. In 2007, Paris Hilton was placed in administrative segregation after being transferred to the Twin Towers Medical Center.
It was another paparazzi
visit. This is when Paris Hilton's parents came and visited her in jail.
Scene for the family of Paris Hilton Tuesday, this time outside the Los Angeles jail where the 26-year-old heiress is doing time. Parents Kathy and Rick Hilton pulled up outside the Twin Towers jail in downtown L.A., greeted by the now familiar throng of cameras on their way to see daughter Paris. They didn't say much going in after leaving their belongings in a locker, making their way inside the jail complex. As of Tuesday, Paris Hilton was in the 5th day of the medical ward at the facility. She was transferred to the jail Friday after a judge ordered her back behind bars after a day of house arrest in her L.A. home. Hilton is allowed non-medical visitors on Sundays and Tuesdays. After about a 40-minute visit with their daughter, the Hiltons walked calmly back to their Mercedes sedan, waving along the way. Kathy Hilton was asked at one point about her daughter's stay in the jail.
Is she sleeping right now? Is she sleeping?
No, she really hasn't had much sleep.
Any nightmares?
That's the girl, Mama.
You have to back up a little bit.
I think we all had nightmares.
Yes.
For now, Paris Hilton continues to serve out her 23-day minimum sentence on a probation violation in a reckless driving case. Steve Flutie, The Associated Press, Los Angeles.
So a lot of celebrities getting busy now. Basically, Rob Reiner's murderer son, Nick Reiner, is currently in the same facility. And I think I've seen pictures of him wearing yellow, which they said for the people that have got mental illnesses going on. So this is a little bit of backstory with what's going on with him.
It's been nearly 2 weeks since the fatal stabbings of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, allegedly at the hands of their own son, Nick. And Page 6 has new details on the Hollywood tragedy. Nick Reiner is being held on first-degree murder charges at an LA jail known for disgusting and harsh conditions. Feces on walls, urine on floors, toilets intentionally flooded, according to an alarming inspection report obtained by the Post. As for the food, it's slop worse than cafeteria food. Beverly Hills defense attorney Adam Michael Sachs told Page 6, "Every client I went to visit begged for bail. Twin Towers Correctional Facility has an A-list roster of past prisoners. Paris Hilton, Harvey Weinstein, Michael Jackson's Dr. Conrad Murray, Robert Downey Jr., Steve-O, Robert Durst, and The Game." Nick Reiner was reportedly diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his meds were putting him out of his head.
So it was pretty interesting, right? There's some pics of him going around, and it looks like he's wearing yellow, or at least he's got yellow kind of on underneath his smock. I think this is an anti-self boo-boo. I don't even want to say the word. You know what I'm talking about. So he can't do himself in like he did his parents in, okay? So TMZ would be initially reporting on David's squalid conditions in some videos that went around, and this is kind of their coverage on David's awful jail nightmare.
A week ago, David was staying in a $15,000 a month rental in Hollywood. And according to law enforcement sources, now he's being held in a segregated single jail cell with some pretty strict rules. He is not on suicide watch. He gets escorted from his jail cell to shower, which he gets to do every other day. And he's only allowed to make phone calls on those shower days. He gets some recreation time, but only 3 hours a week. And he has no contact with the other inmates during that rec time. He does not have access to a TV. He can't have any visitors right now. And he currently has no money on his books, so he can't buy any extras and has to rely on the bare minimum provided by the facility.
It's a rough one, right? So apparently, okay, according to Tear Talk from Prison, YouTube channel, Tear Talk from Prison to True Crime, basically it explained that David would likely be targeted for extortion if he was in the general population of the prison or the jail because of his fame.
So I think that probably what you're looking at is what we would call a classification decision. And classification decisions are based on a lot of different things. In this case, the notoriety of the case, the fact of the way and the manner in which the body was found and discovered is horrific. And so there is that element of it with regards to, people who might want to do him harm. Probably the bigger calculation is the fact that, he's known to have some money. He's famous, or now I guess he's infamous at this point. And so there's a predatory group out there that would very much seek to try and get a hold of some of that money, probably sell him protection. And by that, I mean they offer not to kill him in exchange for money. So you would have a huge extortion thing. And this is not something that, could happen. This is something that absolutely would happen in a case like that. So with those things being said, they know that the propensity for violence being done against him for whatever reason, and there's a variety of reasons with this guy, they have to put him into a place where they have more control over the types of inmates that he's around.
Yeah, I love that, Russ. I also like to add, kind of in partnership with what you're saying, is also the case is still evolving. I mean,
so that's kind of a little bit of backstory, all right? So later on in this interview, we would hear how the jail is kind of described, and essentially it's overcrowded, inhumane, and just unsanitary nightmare for David to be living in, which some people are going to be happy to hear.
Civil rights reports and lawsuits over conditions, from the U.S. Department of Justice to the ACLU to a 2025 civil enforcement suit filed by California Attorney General Rob Bonta, accusing L.A. County of inhumane conditions and exposing people to rats, spoiled meals, and no clean water in its jails. So independent inspectors, lawsuits, and reporting have documented in Twin Towers and its companion facilities bloodstained floors and walls, rats and pest infestations, urine leaking under cell doors, defunct and overflowing toilets and daily toilet flooding, visible mold, rust, and even black worms in showers, spoiled meals, and lack of basic hygiene supplies like soap and toothbrushes, making it almost impossible for inmates to keep cells clean, and cells so small, approximately 80 square feet, that two people cannot pass each other without turning sideways. One New York Post report on Nick Reiner's housing described Twin Towers as a rat-infested, urine-soaked mental health jail, and notes that those conditions are at the heart of the Attorney General lawsuit, which alleges unconstitutional treatment and chronic sanitation failures. A DOJ-linked survey cited by civil rights lawyers ranked Twin Towers among the worst jails in the nation for staff on inmate sexual victimization, with staff perpetrated sexual abuse reports more than double the national jail average. Human rights advocates have also criticized Twin Towers as a place where psychiatric medication is sometimes used as a control tool rather than treatment, raising further questions about how mental health care and discipline blur inside the facility. And the facility has been described as decrepit, dangerous, and structurally flawed for both safety and mental health care. This is not a clean, sterile environment. It is a loud, dangerous, overcrowded institution where the smell of illness, urine, and industrial cleaning products are the backdrop of every single day. So Russ, when people say he's in jail, I want them to really understand what that means. This isn't a county lockup. This is a place the California Attorney General is suing because of how bad the conditions are. There's no one that change how you think about where he is right now.
So that's insane, right? Just how bad these conditions are. And later on, we would hear a little bit more information basically about how David is being held all alone in administrative segregation, and he really doesn't have any control over his daily life at this point.
So Burke is housed in administrative segregation, AgSeg, which at Twin Towers is specifically designated for either high-risk escapes or high escape risk, inmates prone to assaulting staff or other inmates, protective custody, noteworthy inmates, and those at risk of being targeted, which I feel that's why he's in the administrative segregation area. Then you got murder suspects, and then there's a K-10 status inmates. That's maximum security individuals requiring complete separation. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department's own policy manual makes clear that AgSeg is not a punishment. It is a protective classification. In Burke's case, it protects him from the general population and protects other inmates and staff from potential volatility. That word. You know what that word is, right? Volatile. Volatile around his case. So under California Title 15 and Los Angeles Sheriff's Department classification policy, administrative segregation restricts the inmate to their cell for at least 22 hours per day. And in practice at Twin Towers, high security AgSeg inmates get 2 hours out of cell at most. And Burke reportedly receives those 2 hours in strict isolation, no contact with any other inmate during that time. So now, Russ.
So he can't talk to anyone else. He's getting a little couple of hours out of his cell. And he can't talk to anyone else. He's not even allowed to cross paths with another inmate, right? How crazy is that? So eventually these guys would actually describe kind of David's cell that he's being kept in, like his actual room that he would be living in at this point. And this was really interesting because they would basically describe this as small, basic, and pretty much just equipped with only the bare essentials.
His cell, what I read about the cell is an 80 square foot single cell. To visualize that, roughly the size of a standard bathroom or a small walk-in closet. So inside that space, you'll find a concrete sleeping surface or narrow bunk, a stainless steel toilet sink combination unit. Russ, do you have any pictures of any cells in LA? Do they have any on an image there from the Twin Towers?
Let me see if I can find one. It sounds pretty standard. It sounds just like any San Quentin cell would. Let me see if I can find it though.
Yeah, you got a small shelf or ledge, a fluorescent light that is on a schedule, not under his control, and a wristband on his wrist that color codes his classification. So every deputy who sees him knows exactly who and what he is. I also heard that they said he is checked by staff every 15 to 30 minutes, depending on his mental health classification, around the clock, including through the night. And there is no privacy. Every movement, every moment of sleep, every trip to the toilet is observable through the cell door window. So, I mean, he went from a world tour, Hollywood Hills rental, a debut album and 33 million monthly Spotify listeners, to an 80 square foot cell where someone checks on him every 15 minutes. How do you even process that mentally, and does it matter? Hey guys, I want to mention something. Russell.
So it is a insane fall from grace. We basically hear a little bit more later on what a typical day in the life would be like for David while he's behind bars, and this was pretty horrific as well. It was horrendous what he's facing in there, and you know, perhaps you think that's a good thing. I certainly do. Based on all the evidence that I've seen, in my opinion, allegedly. Anyway, all right, they would basically kind of break down what his daily life's like, including the meals and chow that he would likely be getting served.
So based on the official Twin Towers unit orders and confirmed details from Los Angeles Sheriff's Department personnel and reporting around Nick Reiner's housing, this is what the day looks like. 5 a.m., lights on, wake-up call. 6 a.m., breakfast delivered to cell, cold items, typically cereal, hard-boiled eggs, milk, bread with peanut butter and jelly. 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., locked in a cell. No programming, no phones, no visitors. 10:30 to 11 a.m., lunch delivered to cell, cold, usually a sandwich, carrots and juice. If meal is missed, a substitute of a sandwich, fruit and beverages provided. Afternoon, locked in cell. Legal visits from attorneys are the only scheduled interruptions. Approximately around 5 p.m., dinner, the only hot meal of the day. Typical example would be beef patty with gravy, mashed potatoes, green beans, and fruit. And I'm sure they have a rotating menu. 9 o'clock p.m. lights out, and all night checks every 15 to 30 minutes by staff, 0 unobserved time. So showers I saw was about every other day. He's escorted from his cell to the shower under guard on those days and has no contact with other inmates during this movement. Phone calls only on those shower days every other day and under strict conditions. Calls are recorded, monitored, and limited in duration. Recreation or fresh air, 3 hours per week total. During those 3 hours, he has no contact with any other inmates. It is solitary outdoor time. Visitors, general population inmates at Twin Towers are allowed scheduled visits under LASD, under Los Angeles Sheriff's Department rules. Special handle and AgSeg inmates like Burke are more restricted, typically to 2 30-minute visits per week, scheduled in advance. As of the most recent public reporting, he has had no confirmed visitor access beyond his legal team. Television, there's none in AgSeg. The day room access where TV is available is for general population inmates. He does not go to day room, and reports say he currently has no TV at all. And money or commissary, as of April 22nd, 2026, he has no money on his books, meaning no commissary accounts, no ability to purchase snacks, phone credit, hygiene upgrades, or any supplemental items. This is a significant quality of life issue in jail. Everything supplemental, from extra soap to ramen to a cup of coffee, requires commissary funds. So, Russ, no TV, no money, 3 hours outside per week, not 5 hours a day, 3 hours a week. That's less outdoor time than most people spend commuting. How does someone go from headlining a world tour to a schedule that looks like this in the span of 10 days? Now, Russ, you've worked,
That is crazy. Okay, so no TV. It sounds like maybe there were some circumstances where you could get a TV. No visits, no nothing really, no nothing. He's got absolutely complete sensory deprivation in there by the sounds of it. And, you know what I'm saying? Shouldn't have done that, allegedly. So apparently David really has no access to a TV. He's got limited and monitored communications with the outside world, very limited to phone calls. They're saying no money on his books. I heard on Reddit they were saying a little bit of money got put on his books. But yeah, really very, very little for him to enjoy in there.
A little bit, but yeah, I think the TV may take a while. I mean, I see a lot of inmates that come into the system right away. They don't have a TV right away. Doesn't mean they're not allowed one. So in this case here, if he's not a problem, and he's under the umbrella of administrative segregation, however they word it there, but he's really protective custody, which could fall under that umbrella. It's non-punitive. So technically, they should be allowed, a TV, I believe. You got to keep their mind moving forward. Unless, see, this is a unique situation too, Russ, because he has means and influence outside to some extent. Now, he is going to be allowed phone calls, but his phone calls are going to be monitored, except for the legal calls. They can't monitor those, but his other phone calls are going to be recorded. So while this case is going, he doesn't really know who are the definitive witnesses against him right now. So, I mean, if I was the court, I may say, you know what? Limit his phone calls to only these people. We don't want him reaching out to these people who have been involved in the grand jury and who could be witnesses against him right now. So we don't want him to be able to reach out to them, because at this point, we don't want him to have influence over the case we're working on. So I believe his calls and his communication at this point are going to be definitely monitored and monitored by the investigative divisions within the facility to ensure that we don't have any witness tampering or anything like that. And his communications, obviously, with the legal team wouldn't be monitored, but any call he makes outside the facility, because he could always get an approved phone call to his father, which I'm not saying is the case, but hypothetically, who then can call, let's say, Neo. We don't know. So right now, while this case is still evolving, the last thing you want is for him to be able to connect to people that the district attorney is planning on using to push forward with conviction. Would you agree with that, Russ? I mean, they can control some of that.
Yeah, they can control it. There's also the fact that they have tablets. I don't know that he would be eligible for one yet. Sometimes they wait a certain amount of time. Sometimes he's not eligible by virtue of the fact as to where he's housed. I think that they're going to have to, though, because it is pre-trial, that they're going to have to allow him some access at some point. That will come with very specific caveats as to who he can and can't talk to, though. So I think that it's kind of like just hard to know, because every jail is different.
Yeah, it says here, guys, this is only what it says, but Russ is right. I forgot about the tablets. It says under his current status, it's very unlikely he'd get a tablet. Twin Towers does have limited tablet or kiosk access programs, but those are generally for population inmates or lower security housing used in day rooms or common areas for things like messaging, limited entertainment, or education. In administrative.
So look, I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm related to this. I got friends that are locked up in that building in general population, and they have tablets. I can text the homies on a tablet. They can text me back. It's just, this is what it is. It's what works, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Free the guys, free Brick and all that guy, people that I know from, podcasting and stuff in LA that I know are in general population on, other less heinous crimes, and, probation violations, things like that, firearms, all silly kind of things that, unfortunately do happen out here in Los Angeles. But it is a really rough time that he's having in there. It sounds like it is an absolute disaster. And really, I wonder whether, some of those privileges and benefits, for the general population, for the people that aren't accused of such serious things, keep people under control, keep people in line, keep them behaving themselves. But for someone like David, it's too far gone. This is too serious. You're too famous. You're too dangerous to even be considered for these things. I wonder what will happen if he gets life in jail, if he gets death penalty, what his conditions will be like then. And I will update you guys if I do hear anything more about his conditions as that changes and develops. I thought that was really interesting to dig into. I do have one or two more David topics I want to try and get done today. So we got a clean slate for tomorrow for the hearings that are allegedly going forward. Not allegedly, the hearings that are going forward. Allegedly, I'll be there. Allegedly, I won't. There is some reports going around that independent journalists will not, it's not even reports, independent journalists are not being given any seating, so there are only 10 public seats that are available, and it's going to be a lottery on who's going to be able to get those seats. So we're going to try, But if not, I will have a backup plan B, which is arguably even more interesting than plan A, of me sitting in the courtroom where I can't record or anything like that. So it might work out better me not being there. But I will go to the courthouse. I will report to the courthouse and let you guys know how that all went down. And we will see what happens tomorrow. Okay, I'm probably going to do one more update tonight. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Thank you for watching all of the coverage. The Andrew Tate case is going forward. I wish I could just fly out to Miami and attend that trial, but or that federal hearing, like I attended Dirk's federal hearing. But anyway, there's a lot going on, all right, and I don't plan to leave my post for a little while. I need to just lock in and get a lot of reporting done. So appreciate you guys watching this, following this. I will keep you guys updated on any big new developments, and that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one, and the next few days is going to be absolutely insane. There's a lot of info about to come out.